Hey there, Goa fans. Mark DJ Solitaire here with episode 67 of Retro Goa Explorations, my weekly series in which I share in each episode one of my favorite tracks from the 1990s Goa Trance psychedelic dance movement. Um, the last several episodes, we've been looking at the 96 97 season, starting roughly the autumn of 96 through to the summer of 97. Mostly in the first part of that. We've done a few tracks that I came across in early 97. We're now going back to early in that 96 season, 96 to 97 sort of period into the autumn of 96. And we're going back to the that Return to the Source party in New York, the third weekend of September in 96, where I've shared already a few tracks that Tsuyoshi played in his blinding closing set that was held at this science museum with, this four-story high atrium with a glass ceiling. And if you've seen the first X-Men movie, there's a part of it near the end that was filmed inside there, when they're going up into the Statue of Liberty. But this is the building next to it. And what a party. Now, I've been waiting to feature this track because I was wanting to get a little bit of intel on it. And I did, thanks to Ian Ion, who was one of the two members of Psychopod, which was an offshoot of Coxbox with Ian Ion and Frankie Madsen. Peter Candy was no longer in the project. And once again, just like with Total Eclipse and The Antidote, whose track from this compilation was also featured, the Phosphorescent compilation, incredible tip one that I got probably late September. I think it was early October, 96. Much like Total Eclipse had signed to Blue Room, so they released using the name The Antidote for this compilation. Once Coxbox signed to Blue Room, of course, everybody wanted some Coxbox tracks. So they said, okay, we'll use another name. And they used Psychopod. Ian couldn't remember exactly how they came up with the name. But this track I remember very clearly as part of Tsuyoshi's set because of there's really incredible melting harmonies that are very, very distinctive. And I just remembered that vibe. And then once I heard, that CD, I was like, that was that track, just like I did with a few of them. And so Ian shared just a few memories in our very long conversation, in which we were talking a lot about, early times in Goa and the music industry and the scenes and the creativity and all kinds of fantastic stuff. I wanted to share just a couple of those little memories, important key memories that he shared with us. So on go, the senior glasses. He said there was one of the main sounds from here comes from the Oberheim expander that was bought in 95 when he'd finished up with the Overlords and after the first Coxbox album, Forever After. He said he started being able to buy stuff because they were having some success. And he said, when he heard this synth, he's like, oh, this is really something. And specifically some filter modulation in here. And it provides this really, as he said, deep, rich, warm, fat sound. And so there's a specific kind of sound that he absolutely loved, which is one of the key components of this track. And he said, as a former guitarist, I finally had the feeling that a synth could have that kind of twang of an electric guitar. And so this is what started the track. And by the time they actually recorded this track, they had two of these synths. So one was for doing those fat sounds, and another one was being used for other aspects. So this was the base of the basis of that track. So eventually, later on, another mix of this track, and a really completely different version with a different title, came out. And they put it out on this beautiful, look at that gorgeous artwork. Just stunning. Beautiful single, Dreampod. So what's interesting is, the title Psychopod is the project name, but it's also the name of the track, right? Just like Total Eclipse had a track called Total Eclipse as well. Hallucinogen did not have a track called Hallucinogen. It was just LSD. So there's a Dreampod and then Psychopod. So Psychopod is the one that Tsuyoshi played, and I think it's the one that probably got played more. There's quite a different atmosphere with them. And we are going to listen to Psychopod, and I'm going to decide while I'm filming if I'm going to feature the entire Dreampod. I'm going to listen to at least a little bit of it, but I probably will because, you know, it's all great music. So you're going to hear those raw sounds that are really quite important. There's, in terms of, I'll articulate a little bit of a difference now between these two tracks. The Psychopod one has a bit more of a granular, kind of rougher, sort of robust, full-bodied kind of quality to it. And the Dreampod one, completely different structure. And some of the elements really they just create a different kind of storyline. So they show up in different places. There's some extra things added, but it's a more streamlined, fluid, really elegant kind of sonic landscape, so to speak, soundscape, I guess, which is a word I've used before, right? It's just this, the framework is different, and love them both. I've played them both. But the Psychopod one I wanted to feature because it's the one that really hit me as part of Tsuyoshi set. I can probably reconstruct all of the tracks that he played, in New York. I've asked him to sort of see if he had the DAT. I don't think he's found that yet, or if it was even recorded. But boy, I'm not going to forget that one in a hurry, since I haven't forgotten it 27 and a half years later. But why don't we listen to this fantastic first version of the track by Psychopod called Psychopod. Cool little aerated, listen to those aerated sounds and mysterious atmosphere. And then this riff, really important. I just love the build up here. And it's going to get doubled up shortly. Hear some little voices in the background here as well. And there's the kick, and then now we have an octave going up here. And just beautiful, wonderful, exciting build up. And then there's going to be this explode. And then all of a sudden you're just in the track. Listen to that bass line. Love that. And again, voice-like quality going on here. Listen to there's some sounds in the background here that are going to show up in Stratosphere and Stratosphereless later on. And I love that atonal kind of tweaking that's going on here. Right, so the tension is cranking up. Very interesting break, eh? Well, there's some little sounds going on, and then love that pick. Now notice how the rhythm doesn't fit the beat exactly, so it changes its emphasis. Super playful and creative. And now, gated voices. Listen to how many things are going on at the same time. Listen to that sort of the intervals here. Beautiful pattern. This also sounds, we got a little bit of Acid Volume 3, really early Cox Box, a little bit in the sound and riff. And then just melt every time I hear this. Glistening jewel drops. And then hear all the layers and how, you know, sometimes they have the same notes going on from different breaths, just compounding one another. Some of their rhythmic stuff going on in the upper registers. And now this just gorgeous alien melody coming on here. So you had the aliens there and then the humans reacting to it. I mean, just that kind of real, you know, really like the first track in the series, Stellium, you know, where you have this incredible alien voice beaming down a message to you. Definitely the sensation that we had with this way back then. And now that voice comes in again. Notice the human voices and everything underneath it. What a storyline. There's those build-ups. Creative structuring, eh? Notice how we're not just doing 8x 8x and everything here. Really outside the box construction here. One of the many ecstatic breaks. That whoosh going up there. Just really uplifting celebratory quality, I think, that we've heard in so many of the tracks. So it's on, again, a kind of almost insistent exclamation. And how the voices interact, right? Call and answer. And then the alien voice comes back again. Murmuring voices. This wonderful build up here. There's that falling. There's that comes out. And that answer. Oh, not there. And then. Now that's sort of floating up above, that other voice. Then another build up to another section. Another climax. And notice the rhythm that's going to come in here as well. funky, psychedelic, completely out there, and then that melting going on up there. And then there's the answer up there. Really close encounters. And that alien voice makes a reappearance. Make sure you got the message. Notice the drum rolls, love those. Now it's going to start unwinding. I mean, to light up something after listening to that one. Wow. Really just an absolute masterpiece. And it really is just a whole other dimension in all meanings of the word, quantum leap, I think, in terms of, I mean, there's the engineering, there's just the storyline, the creativity, there's still the regularity and the sort of, the pulse and the way the storyline, works in different sections. But then you have those creative transitions between, really creative breaks between sections, these transitional things, sort of like while you're turning the page and the story's continuing. And just absolutely brilliant. We might as well listen to the entire Dreampod, don't you think? I mean, I was going to play the introduction so you can hear, the different introduction, and sort of a framework for sonic framework. But I think that, why not? This is just incredible music, and we want to hear it. So let's listen to the alternate mix. And by the way, Ian also told me that, Frankie always liked to have different mixes available, for when they did their set. So that's kind of how this started out. And when I asked, how the decision was made, like which one to include in the compilation, Ian couldn't remember. So, maybe the tip folks they had both of them, and this is the one they chose. Regardless, of course, they're both great. And we're going to listen to the Dreampod mix now. Here we go. So notice how it starts off with this percussive, right? Regular rhythm, and it just goes through these phases. There's that expander. This sort of mystical atmosphere, and then so really different kind of introduction, right? Very logical structuring as well. Just really just different. There's those murmuring voices again. Now we're going to get this bass line. Sort of more murmuring kind of energy to this one. Some textures in there. The kick should start coming in here. Start slowly, something starts building. It's a really long intro. There we go. It's been a while since I played this one. Right, so nice long intro, and then so we can recognize what's, from the previous one, but different framing, different flavor. The sounds are different. Again, that more streamlined, elegant kind of quality, I would say. Right, so even these rougher bits, a little bit more burnished, a little polished. Right, so we're really focused on that upper framework, and now so more lyrical. Listen to the way those notes progress. Just beautiful. Some of that lower bit there. Pick. And then there's the hypnotic sort of elements to that loop. And, right, so different effect, different sort of use of those notes. And it has a more upbeat quality to it, I think. Still hypnotic, but you know, there's a naturally more sort of buoyant quality to this one, plus with that glass-like mysterious flavoring here. Interesting drop, eh? And notice how it's not quite as granular as in the other version. Nice build up. Oh, next one. Just keeps you on your toes, right? Just not as predictable as a lot of what we hear now. And it's kind of a little bit unresolved. I think there's more tension here, right? Because it's sort of building up. A lot of energy spin building up in this version. So it's sort of like this, taking some other bits and just expanding on them a little bit more creatively. Sounds like a sort of those live mix explorations. Rhythm, and then right, so it's not the same use of those notes in terms of that melting sort of lyrical line in the previous one. Got some like almost helicopter-like sounds. And again, a little bit of a throwback to Acid Volume 3 and Heart House. Again, there's a bit of a call and answer, right? This part. Then that bridge, and then now we start getting a familiar bit. Right, now we're getting back into something more familiar from the previous version. Just a bit more of that wah 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 in the background. And we should have the psychedelic yodel coming up shortly. And then there's that build up. Love the use of the kick there. Now it's not as rah-rah kind of climax there, right? Still a little bit held back, a little more restrained. Lots more developing still. So again, even that sound is still more polished And now we're gonna go into one of the climactic voices and elements. And again, that kind of call and answer. But again, it's not quite as over the top as the last one, right? The other one's, this one feels a little bit more, I want to say restrained, but, you know, a little bit more structured. And the other one's a little bit looser. And now we get, right? It's a long build-up before we get this alien voice and that lyrical melting quality. Again, some different framing. A lot more gurgling going on in the background. Wonderful bounce to this. Again, the clarity is really exceptional. Now it starts really building. Almost a little key change in that one upper voice and then back down. Some texture is building up in that mid-range as well. That upper sound too. Some sounds and flavoring we would hear when Coxbox would remix Slinky Wizard's track, The Wizard. Wonderful morning feel. And that sort of floating quality while there's that upper register stuff going on. How many layers? It's really interesting how this kind of doubles up some of what's happening with the lyrical part, but it emphasizes parts in a unique way. And it's just gonna have a very beautiful lyrical conclusion again, just sort of fade out. Wow. I mean, really just beyond gorgeous. So different, right? This is what's remarkable in terms of, you know, the creativity and the whole creative process. You know, you hear Psychopod and you hear, oh my God, that's an amazing track. Listen to all those elements. And then you hear Dreampod. It's like, wait a second, here's a bunch of those elements in a completely different storyline, different kind of engineering, different framework. And, you know, the way you get to some of those voices is different. And the way they express is different. And they are both fantastic. Wouldn't want to be without either of them. As I stated, you know, say the Psychopod one is for me just the one that sort of pulls on the heartstrings a little bit more, just because of the memories of those, you know, the alien voice just, you know, at the end of 7 hours of this kind of music being beamed down to these Americans who had no idea what had hit them. You know, that kind of melody was just, it just packed a punch. And so with those ecstatic buildups as well, it was just absolutely the most incredible thing. So so there we go. So extra long episode. Guess I had to feature both of those versions. So we are going to listen to them after I sign off here, one after the other. So I'm Mark DJ Solitaire. Thanks for tuning into episode 67, and I'll leave you now with two tracks from this Dreampod single by Psychopod. First, the title track Psychopod, and then the single track Dreampod. Thanks for tuning in.